Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another basketball video, and today I'm going over my conference finals predictions. I've been doing finals predictions pretty much every round of the playoffs so far for the NBA, and I'm going to do another one for this round. I'm going to do a team comparison for Heat and Celtics and for the Warriors Mavericks games, and then give my own personal opinion on who's going to win, as well as my finals prediction. A lot of my predictions have stayed very much the same. But I was incorrect two of the last rounds. I thought although I did have the Heat the first time I made a prediction video, I did change to the 76ers, which ended up being a bad decision as the Heat won in 6 games. And I picked the Suns, which I think most people did. Although I did think Dallas had a very legitimate chance of winning, and they did in spectacular fashion last night. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Heat versus Celtics. Both of these teams are 8-3 so far in the playoffs. Celtics 108.5 points a game to the Heat's 107. Very similar. Also on offense, 46 field goal percentage for both teams, about 36-37% three-point percentage. Although the Celtics are averaging 1.5 points higher from 3. Very similar three-point percentage and field goal percentage for both teams. 80.5 free throw percentage for the Celtics, 82.4 free throw percentage for the Heat, and 41.5 rebounds for both teams per game. The Celtics are averaging more assists per game, although they are averaging less steals, but they have twice as many blocks at 6 versus 3 for the Heat. The Celtics defense has been getting a lot of blocks, a lot from the Nets, but also a lot from the Milwaukee series. The Celtics have been dominant from a blocking and a defensive standpoint the entire season, and then in the playoffs they've really stepped it up. 12.5 turnovers per game for both teams, and fouls again. Unless your team is consistently getting in foul trouble, and Tatum or Butler or Adebayo or someone is consistently getting into foul trouble, fouls really aren't going to be that big of a deal, unless, or if there's a lot of free throws for a team. But yeah. Very similar offensive stats so far in the playoffs, but the Celtics did have a tougher, an easier defensive team in round 1 against the Nets, and a tougher defensive team in round 2 against the Bucks. So very similar so far on offense. On defense, one thing you do need to keep in mind is the Celtics played 2 of the strongest offenses in the league in their series. They played the Milwaukee Bucks and they played the Brooklyn Nets, and those are 2 of the strongest offenses in the league this season for points per game, for three-point percentage, for all kinds of things. So although the Heat 97.5 points per game so far against in the playoffs is very impressive, I do think that the Celtics have played better defensively because of the matchups that they've had. 44.1 field goal percentage for the Heat compared to 44.3 against the Celtics. 33 three-point percentage against for both. Very similar field goal percentage stats. Defense can't really impact free throws. I think both of these teams are going to shoot about 80 to 82%. Rebounds, the Celtics are allowing more rebounds, but again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Milwaukee rebounds 50 a game, no matter who they're playing. If the Heat played Milwaukee in round 2, then Milwaukee would have averaged 50 rebounds a game. Assists, again, about 20 assists, very similar on defense. About 6.5 to 7 steals against, very similar on defense. And the Celtics are allowing more blocks from the opponent, and part of that has to do with Milwaukee, but the Nets rarely blocked at all. So, turnovers, the Heat are forcing 15 turnovers a game compared to 12.5 for the Celtics. So although the Heat are turning over the ball the same amount of times that the Celtics are, they're forcing more turnovers. I think one of the keys to the series will be whether or not the Heat can continue to force extra turnovers against the Celtics. The Celtics have been inconsistent with their turnovers, and turnovers have been a major factor in a lot of our losses. So it'll be interesting to see if it'll be very important to see if the Heat are able to use their ability to force turnovers to their advantage so far in the playoffs, or if the Celtics are going to be able to be consistent enough that it won't make a difference. I have the Celtics beating the Miami Heat 4-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Heat beat the Celtics 4-2 in 2020 in the finals, so I have the Celtics returning the favor, beating the Heat 4-2 in 2022. In the West, we have Warriors Mavericks. The Warriors are 8-3 so far in the playoffs, and the Mavericks are 8-5. Although the Mavericks did need to face the 64-win Phoenix Suns, which was a very hard-fought series. 114 points a game for the Warriors, 106 for the Mavericks so far in the playoffs. 48.3 field goal percentage compared to 45.3 for the Mavs. 37.7 3-point percentage compared to 38.5, which is one of the highest 3-point percentages in the playoffs so far for Dallas. 44 rebounds a game for the Warriors, a little higher than the Heat and Celtics numbers. Only 37 rebounds a game for Dallas, which is big because if the Warriors are able to use that to their advantage, then that could be a lot of extra chance points. The Warriors are averaging 10 offensive rebounds a game. The couple games where Milwaukee was able to score decently over 10 against the Celtics on the boards on offensive rebounds, they won. So if the Warriors are able to get 10, 15 offensive boards in some games, then that could be the difference maker. Assists. Warriors, although they are averaging more points a game, are averaging 10 extra assists per game, 28 compared to 18. I know that the points makes up for some of that, but 10 is a big margin. Steals, the Mavericks are averaging a couple more steals a game, but not really. And then blocks, 6 for the Warriors compared to 2.5 per game for the Mavericks. And the biggest thing in this series, again, I think the turnovers are the biggest thing in the playoffs, in the conference finals this year, because 15.3 turnovers for the Warriors so far in the playoffs has been the deciding factor in their losses. Their turnovers are what killed them. Mavericks don't turn the ball over, and that makes them, in my opinion, a slightly more consistent team. The Warriors have won and lost by 40 a number of times, and the Mavericks have been very consistent because of their lack of turnovers. But the Warriors do force the same number of turnovers a game as the Mavericks do, so it'll be interesting to see how the Mavericks' ability to stay consistent will benefit them, and it'll be interesting to see how the Warriors are able to deal with the Mavericks' defense and try and retain the ball more without turning it over, and still get the same number of assists. Because if you're passing the ball around, assisting on field goals, then you're going to turn the ball over more. You're more likely to turn the ball over more than if you're just driving to the hoop. So it'll be interesting to see how that does impact the series. On defense, the Warriors 110 points a game against compared to 102 for Dallas. The Warriors have been focusing mainly on winning on offense. The Mavericks have been winning on defense. 44 field goal percentage against for the Warriors compared to 46 for Dallas, but Dallas has done better against the 3-ball. High 70s free throw percentage against. And then both teams averaging 44 rebounds against per game. That will benefit Dallas because the Warriors are giving up and taking about the same number of rebounds for the entirety of the playoffs. So if Dallas can take advantage of that and even out the rebounds, then that can benefit them in the series. And the Warriors are giving up more assists, partially, again, because they're allowing more points. But if Dallas can get the ball moving without turning it over, then that could really benefit them. 9 steals a game for the Warriors. So although the Warriors are turning the ball over more, they're forcing 9. They have 9 steals a game, and they're forcing more turnovers. Although the turnover total is very similar, about 13, and 4.8 blocks a game against the Warriors versus 3.6 blocks per game against the Mavericks. This series, I think that it's going to be more volatile than the Celtics-Heat series. I think the Celtics and Heat is going to be more of a slugfest defensive battle like the Milwaukee series was. But with this one, I think it's going to be very similar to how they played their Eastern Conference Finals rounds, Eastern Conference Semis rounds, where there's going to be a lot of mood swings, a lot of big wins, a lot of big losses, and it's going to be, when a game starts, you're never going to have any idea who's going to win. Western Conference Finals, I have the Warriors beating the Mavericks 4-3. I had the Warriors winning the finals for a long time, and then towards the start of the playoffs, I dipped them a little bit, and then I put them right back up. They're going to the finals, beating Dallas 4-3. And in the NBA Finals, I still have the Celtics winning 4-3 over the Golden State Warriors. I think that the Celtics have been the most consistent team for the majority of the season. They had an 18-21 start, but since then they're 41-13. I think that they are the most consistent team in the playoffs currently, and I think that they are a very healthy team that's improved every week of the season so far, and is going to continue to improve until the end of the season. So those are my predictions for the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will be doing the Dallas Mavericks hype video. I've been doing a hype video for each of the playoff teams left in the conference finals, so that will be coming out probably tomorrow, maybe the next day. It depends on how productive I am. But I'm very excited for the playoffs. I'm very excited for Game 1 of the Celtics series, and I hope you guys are excited too. So we'll see how everything goes, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.